1/5 of the world's population lives without enough water. And in India, half of the population, some 600 million people, reside in areas where water resources are highly stressed. Special correspondent Fred de Sam Lazaro reports from the coastal city of Chennai on the balancing act between rapid economic development and water management.
In Chennai's poorer neighborhoods like Ayanavaram, people drop whatever they're doing when they hear the water tanker squeezing into the narrow alley. It is their only source of clean drinking water, and it comes every other day.
The tap water we get stinks of sewage. This water is much better. We depend on the water tanker.
They don't get a lot, just a couple of pots per household, which are saved just for drinking and cooking. Arduous and backbreaking as fetching water seems, these are good times compared to what people have endured in recent years.
Now the supply is good.
Last June, toward the end of an epic drought, this coastal city of more than 8 million residents ran out of water. Drinking water was rationed and at one point even brought in on trains from 135 miles away.
The problem is cyclical.
T. Prabhushankar heads the city's water department.
So such disasters which we go through actually serve as catalysts for us to quicken our pace, but then this process has always been ongoing.
The city has built 2 desalination plants on the Bay of Bengal in recent years, and 2 more are scheduled to come online. Amir Basha manages this plant.
Desalination plants are acting as a backbone to give a steady supply and reliable supply of water. Seawater is abundantly available.
However, economics professor S. Janakarajan says rainwater is also abundantly available and desalination the wrong answer.
We are not in the Middle East. With so much of rainfall, desalination is extremely irrational.
Chennai on average gets 55 inches a year, far more rain than Seattle or London. One big difference, he says, is there's been rapid population growth here.
In recent years, Chennai has become a center for car manufacturing and for information technology. That's drawn millions of high-tech workers, factory workers, and migrants from surrounding rural areas. And all of that has dramatically increased the demand for water, while at the same time reducing the supply of it.
Ironically, all the new housing has left residents cut off from access to fresh water. Builders paved over hundreds of acres of wetlands, natural reservoirs, and drains that replenished aquifers below. When the monsoon is heavy and extremes have become more common in a hotter world, the water has nowhere to drain.
2015 was the flood of the century, and 2016 was a drought of the century, and 2018 was again an extreme drought year.
What you see over here are paddy lands.
Nityanand Jayaraman, an environmental activist, took us on a tour to see the impact of encroachment and development.
So this used to be a rice field.
This used to be rice fields. And in order to construct here, the groundwater level is very, very high. So to build your foundation for these large buildings, you need to dig bore wells and then suck out the groundwater and pump it out. So you're actually just throwing away your future.
Trading water for land and building has been happening since the 1600s, when the British East India Company created the city of Madras, present-day Chennai. In those days, thousands of lakes and tanks dotted the landscape, serving small agrarian communities around them.
So virtually every one of these blue patches that you see are human-made, engineered irrigation tanks that date back to more than 1,000 years.
Steadily, these tanks were built over or abandoned in a world where Jayaraman says land was highly valued, a trend that's been particularly intense over the past 2 decades.
Under modern economic parlance, be it in India or in Houston, Texas, what development means is constructing more buildings, paving more open earth with hard concrete or asphalt.
For their part, residents in these new developments have their own complaints.
We pay our taxes, but we don't get the services that the municipality is supposed to give us.
Harsha and Prabha Hoda have been waiting for a decade to get their 50-unit apartment complex hooked up to the city's water and sewer system.
It's been 15 years since the plans were passed, and still no infrastructure.
They rely on private water tankers. When Prabha Hoda saw one arrive during a downpour, she was moved to action.
That's where the idea struck me, like, let's just get the rainwater, collect it and use it.
The Kodas convinced their association and dozens of other such complexes to build a simple system of pipes and storage.
We have been going around preaching this like evangelists.
What has it done to your water costs and your water security?
When it rains, we don't buy tankers. We just built the well about 6 months ago. In a year's time, I would see at least 50 to 70% of our water being met by ourselves, not from outside.
Rainwater collection has actually been mandated by law in Chennai since 2003, but compliance and enforcement are minimal. Several powerful interests benefit from water shortages. Everyone from private water tanker operators to contractors for multi-billion-dollar projects like desalination plants. Shanta Nair is a retired head of Chennai's water utility, where she says there's a definite bias for big projects.
You lay pipes and you bring water from across, you desalinate, you build huge dams and reservoirs. You don't do small things like water harvesting. So this message is not going from the professionals to the political, to the heads also.
There is sort of a oversimplification that just harnessing the rainfall alone will solve the needs of the city.
The Water Authority's Prabhu Shankar says it won't. He says more sewage water recycling plants and the expanded desalination are an insurance policy that will shield Chennai once and for all from water insecurity.
Can you say with some confidence that going forward, you will never have a problem?
Absolutely. When I say the timeline 2024-25, this will certainly be a thing of the past.
The Kodas, already waiting a decade for a utility hookup, say that's just one more promise. Those less well-off may well continue to lurch from day to day, water tanker to water tanker, for this most basic of human needs. For the PBS NewsHour, this is Fred DeSam-Lazaro in Chennai, India.
And Fred's reporting is in partnership with the Undertold Stories Project at the University of St. Thomas in Minnesota.